All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get started. So thank you everybody for joining us. I know everybody's kind of working to get back into the swing of things after a much needed holiday break. So I hope everybody had a wonderful and safe holiday. Whether you stayed home by yourselves or you were with some close loved ones, I hope everybody had a great time and really used that break to help kind of rejuvenate yourselves. I know I needed it big time. So, but I'm happy to be back and speaking to all of you today with a wonderful guest. So for some of you that might be new to our webinars, I'd love to introduce myself. My name is Matt Garcia. I am the co-owner of Maker Maven, along with my wife, Jamie. We started Maker Maven back in April of 2016. We started pretty small, counting out things like popsicle sticks and straws and bagging things up to try and help our educator friends try to figure out what to do with this new maker culture and the new STEAM culture going forward in education. And then from there, we've been blessed enough to make some wonderful connections, like with our speaker today and their wonderful company. So we couldn't be happier with the growth and the support that we've had, much in part to our educators. So again, thank all of you for joining us today. And I would also love to introduce Brianna Kua. She's going to be joining us here and moderating today. So if you have any questions, she's going to be feeding a lot of information into the chat and then also watching social media as well. So there's a little hint, we're going to be very active on social media and in the chat today. So I would like to go ahead and get some of those little housekeeping rules out of the way before we get started with a little bit of learning today. So for some of you that have joined us in the past, you are already familiar with how we like to do things here. We love to keep it interactive and engaging. So feel free to use the chat. Make sure your little to section is toggled to all panelists and all attendees. So we know that you're talking to us, and then you also know when we're talking to you in the chat. So it's a great way to get some good engagement, some good ideas flowing back and forth between all of our panelists and as well as the other educators online. If you have any, anything that you see like, wow, that's cool, Jen, I didn't know Cubelets can do this, or I use this with my third graders, anything like that, pop it in the chat. If you have any more in-depth questions that might require a little bit more time, pricing questions, specific ideas for lesson plans or something like that, go ahead and use the Q&A function that we've enabled for you. So type your questions in that Q&A section. We're going to take some time to answer some of those in-depth questions a little bit later at the end of the main presentation. Again, use that chat box as liberally as you would like. And also continue the conversation on Twitter, but also we would like you to be engaged in the conversation on Twitter and Facebook as well. So you can follow us at maker_Maven, and we're going to be doing some great giveaways as well. So we're going to be giving away a Brilliant Builder Pack. It's pretty bad glare on there, so I'm sure none of you can see that worth a darn on there, but it's awesome, trust me. So Maker Maven will be giving away one Brilliant Builder Pack, and then Modular Robotics is going to be giving away a lesson plan bundle as well to one lucky winner. So one winner is going to take home the Brilliant Builder Pack and the lesson plan bundle. And the way to enter in that is that social media engagement. So if you tag Maker Maven and Modular Robotics, and we get some, you have to follow both of us. Take some screenshots, maybe shout us out what you like or what you find interesting during this presentation. Really build up that social media engagement. And again, continue to use the chat. So with all of that out of the way, I am so happy to introduce our guest today. So we have Jen Cousins today from Modular Robotics. She's the Education Account Director, and Modular Robotics are the makers of the Cubelets Robot Blocks that you're all here to learn about today. So it's been great working with Jen the past few years, and I know she's going to show us a lot of great things today. So that's enough from me. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Jen.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And excited to be here. And hopefully everybody got some valuable information about Cubelets. Love to share Cubelets with everyone. And Maker Maven is a great partner. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
am gonna dive in here. All right, so Modular Robotics, who are we? We are the makers of Cubelets Robot Blocks. So a little bit of background, we are located in Boulder, Colorado, where we design and engineer Cubelets Robot Blocks, as well as GigglePot and GoPiGo. Our goal is to make captivating robot toys that inspire an intuitive understanding of complexity, computational thinking, emergence, design, and a bunch of very other vital skills like collaboration and problem thinking, which we'll go through here. But a little bit of background, our CEO developed Cubelets as part of his Carnegie Mellon dissertation. So he went back to Carnegie Mellon to get his PhD, and he was studying complexity and emergent and all of these big, deep concepts, and he wanted to come up with a way to better explain it to people, to make it a little bit simpler, but something that they could understand. And he created Cubelets with the robotics team as part of a modeling tool. And he started showing it to his colleagues and to professors, and it was overwhelming, the response that he got, that nobody had seen a tool like this, and it was something that could be very valuable in the classroom and in education, and he should figure out a way to bring it to the world. So he got a grant from the National Science Foundation and started making Cubelets out of a tiny little garage in Boulder, Colorado, and that was almost 12 years ago today. And this last year, we shipped over 1 million Cubelets, which is really exciting. Cubelets can be found all over the world, from preschools in Vietnam to universities, K-12 schools all over the United States, museums, libraries, after-school programs. I even have a few zoos across the world using Cubelets. So most of the educational organizations that you can think of in some way, we are involved. As we go through the presentation, I'll also talk about the lesson plans and activities we have, but just so you know, those are all tied to ISTE, they're tied to the K-12 computer science standards, NGSS, and Common Core standards as well. But why we're here today, why Cubelets? Why Cubelets? So Cubelets really are designed for all learners. Cubelets Robot Blocks are great for nearly any age and skill level. We say preschool all the way to university and beyond. And we find that students that may not be interested necessarily in robotics or STEM are really engaged with Cubelets and really excited about them. And whether it be boys or girls and, you know, advanced users, beginning users, Cubelets really do have a way to engage all of those different types of students. And when we talk about Cubelets, we encourage our teachers as well to think beyond just using them as a robotics tool or something that you would use in your makerspace or your library. You really can utilize Cubelets in all aspects of the classroom. So our lesson plans and activities are tied to teaching Cubelets to teach math or science, even ELA. Because Cubelets are really teaching computational thinking and critical thinking, which are core skills. And I know that computational thinking gets thrown out a lot, but what we're really talking about, you know, identifying patterns and groupings is a useful way of thinking, not just for computer scientists or coders, but for all fields. So whether it's taught in your coding class or your social studies, the framework is the same. We're asking students to look at provided information or data, narrow it down to the most valuable data, and find patterns and find themes. And this works whether it's comparing maps or blocks of code or literature. It's the same information that they're going to take away, the same problem solving and critical thinking skills. So if we think about kids and what they need to know for the futures, for jobs, so we don't even know what those jobs will be. I mean, half of us didn't expect to be planted in front of computers for the last 8 months, but here we are, and I'm sure we'll all agree that we had to adapt and come up with different ways to make things work. And so really at the end of the day with Cubelets, we're trying to give students a tool that they can investigate through open-ended learning and really hone in on those vital skills. So what are robot blocks? Well, Cubelets are in fact little robot blocks. But when we talk about cubelets, I think it's really important to create a definition for what a robot is. So whether I'm working with students or I'm working with teachers, I like to start with, what is a robot? Does anybody have any idea what a robot is? And some of you might throw in the chat what you think a robot is. And I get all sorts of different types of answers, whether it's a vacuum that vacuums the floor, or something that can think, something that can solve a problem. But when we talk about a robot, we talk about a device that can sense, it can think, and it can act. And that becomes really important when we look at cubelets, because that's how they were designed: sense, think, and act. And so one of the examples that I like to use is the hand dryer in a public bathroom. I'm sure most of you don't walk into a bathroom and think robots, but the hand dryer is in fact a robot. So when we walk in there and we put our hand underneath the sensor, it's going to say, hey, there's a hand underneath here. It tells its little computer to turn on the heat. The heat comes on. When I remove my hand, it thinks again, there's nothing here. I don't sense anything, and the heat turns off. So sense, think, and act. And so that's how cubelets are designed. We have our little black cubes, and these are sensors. You can see this one has a big eye. This guy has two little eyes. So these are sensors. They're going to sense something about their environment, and they are going to think about it, and then they're going to act upon it. So we have our think cubes, which are brightly colored cubes, and that includes our little battery cube. And these cubes change the way that our robots behave. They either pass data through or they change the way that the data flows through. But these are our think cubes. And then we have our act cubes, which I'm sure that most of your students will tell you are the most fun cubes and the reason that they love cubelets. But our act cubes are the ones that light up and spin and do things. So sense, think, and act. So every robot creation always have to have 3 cubes. You can have more cubes than that, but this is going to be the basis, whether it's a 20 build robot or a 3-block robot. We're always going to have sense, think, and act. So one little example here, we have our distance sensor. So this particular sensor can see when something's in front of it. Our battery that's going to provide power to our entire robot, and then our little drive cublet. And when we put them together, and you can tell they're magnetic and they snap together really easy, we get a robot that drives. And with just these 3 blocks, we could build a variety of different robots, just depending on how you configure them. And as I'm building these, something to note, because I do get asked this a lot, each robot only needs 1 battery. So each set comes with anywhere from 1 to 12 batteries, depending on the set. And the batteries are lithium ion. They will stay charged throughout the day. So you can typically get through a whole school day with just 1 charge, as long as you're not building giant, enormous robots. But lithium ion, little USB charger, really easy to charge at the end of the day. So you don't have to worry about a ton of batteries. Another little example we have here, a different sensor, our brightness sensor. It's going to sense light. We have a flashlight, and then again, our battery. And my room's pretty bright, so when we snap these together, we get a little robot that lights up. And then our inverse cube, we'll get into that a little bit more, but when we throw that in, it will change the behavior of our robot. So all of our kits come with these components, and some kits have more or less, but we do have 4 different sensors, something that senses light, something that senses distance. We have a temperature sensor, as well as our knob, which is a little actuator. We have our think cubelets, and the way that the think cubelets work, typically you can add more think cubes to build more complexity. So for our younger students, our kits only really come with the passive and the inverse, but as we start to work with older students or start to introduce more complex ideas, we do have think cubes that are helpful for that. So we have a minimum and maximum cube, we have a threshold, and we also have a blocker cublet. And then the act cubelets, we have things that light up and spin and make noises and drive. So one of the first examples that I like to do is to build a lighthouse. So probably if I was doing this in the classroom, we would study lighthouses. So today we're going to talk about a lighthouse. Where are lighthouses located throughout the world? How are lighthouses helpful? Where did they come from? How do they work? All of those good things. And then from there, we're going to give our students a success criteria. Okay, we've talked about lighthouses. We all understand how lighthouses work. Now you get an opportunity to build your own lighthouse. And so giving the students the cubes, they can start to explore what each cube does and figure out how they can create a lighthouse. So what we know about lighthouses is that they are a tall tower. So we're going to want to build our robot up. It's something with a light on top, and that light needs to rotate. And so what will typically happen in as a classroom is you'll see students, putting the blocks together, trying to figure it out. Okay, this one spins around, but it's spinning around there. How do I get it to spin around on top? And so we'll work through the cubes, and hopefully by the end of it, they come up with something that looks like this. So we have a tall tower. It's got a light on top, and that light spins. And this particular robot has our brightness sensor down here. So that's going to sense how much light is in the room. So we built a lighthouse successfully. Yay, good job, students. Oops. All right, so we built a lighthouse successfully. But what we want to start to investigate is our think cubelets. So we're going to set our students up to start to investigate how an inverse cube works. And the other thing that we're going to introduce is with cubelets, order matters. So when we talk about our think cubelets, they typically need to go in between a sense and an act. So we're starting to build algorithms using the cubes, and which what we like to call tactile coding. So it's not your typical coding where you're sitting in front of a screen and typing, okay, I want my robot to go left, left, right. They have to investigate the blocks and figure out what they do. And then we're going to throw in some more ideas to them. Okay, order matters. So we have our sense cubes, and they go in between a think and an act cube. And I want you to remember this, and we're going to move on to our lighthouse project. We're going to start to discuss the lighthouse that we just built, because honestly, it's the worst lighthouse possible. So this lighthouse works when the lights are out. So theoretically, if we had a boat and it was coming up and the lights go off, our lighthouse quits working. So we built a lighthouse that doesn't work in the dark, which isn't a very good lighthouse. So we want to build a lighthouse that is an energy efficient lighthouse. So when the sun goes down, our lighthouse is going to go on. So how can we build that? So our new criteria adds in, we need a lighthouse that lights up in the dark, not in the light. And so that's where our inverse cube can come in very handy. So if we think about order matters, we're going to put our inverse cube in between our sense and our act. So we got our act up here, we got our sense down here. And now, when I turn off my lights, all of a sudden, I have a lighthouse that works very well in the dark. So we've now successfully built a lighthouse that works in the dark using our inverse cube. So in one way, cubelets can be really simple. We can just build different robots, put them together, things that drive, things that light up. But when we start to investigate what happens, we start to learn things like the inverse cube creates an opposite effect. And within a system, the blocks are always sending a data value from one to the next. So we can also start to investigate what that means. So within the cubelets, every block sends a data value from 0 to 255. May not be helpful if you're working with little students, but if you're working with 7th graders, it's really helpful to start to investigate what that looks like and what that means, because we can start to learn things like the inverse cube inverts the flow of data. It takes a high data value and it turns it into a low data value. And we can use cubes like our bar graph to start to investigate what that looks like. I'm just going to throw my bar graph cube in here. And now you can see it's pretty bright in my room. So I get a really high data value. But if I turn off the lights, whoops, where's my block? Oh, here it is. If I turn off the lights, I get a really low data value. So we can actually start to look at the cubes and investigate how each one works and what that means. So when I throw in my inverse cube, you'll see we have a high data value. And now we have a very high data value when I cover up the light, but a lower data value when there's less light. So that's one of the things about Cubelets that can be really fun to investigate is how each one works, but also just giving students problems to solve. Can you build a car that will drive but stop before it drives off the edge of the table? Or can you build a car that stops before it runs into the wall? Those type of things. So a question, if you want to throw in your answers into the chat room as you're looking at Cubelets in this very beginning introduction to how they work, what students do you think might benefit from Cubelets in your classroom? Can you think of those students that are, oh, that one, I know he would love this or she would love this. The other thing that we have is our Cubelets Console. So I think a lot of educators will agree that one of the most valuable thing about Cubelets is that you don't have to be in front of a screen to use them. And especially now when kids are in front of the screen all day long. So this is great engagement. It's a way to teach tactile coding without being in front of a screen. But you will find that you have students that perhaps have been using Cubelets in their district year over year, right? So we need new challenges. Or as we're working with our older students, just building isn't enough to keep them engaged. So how can we take that to the next level and start to introduce some new challenges for them? So we do have Cubelets Console. Each kit comes with a Bluetooth cube. So the Bluetooth will enable you to connect to your Cubelets. And you can do that through our console, which is a web-based app, or you can do it through our iOS or Android app. So the console has a few features that I think, whoops, we're gonna skip that video, but know that it's here for you to come back to. The console has a few different features which I think are really beneficial in it. The first one is the data logger guide. So if you're looking to use Cubelets in your science or your math class, this can be huge because it actually charts all the information that's happening within your cube. So that data value of 0 to 255, now we can see it and we can put it in an Excel spreadsheet and download it and evaluate it. So that really makes that a little bit more tangible for the students. The other thing we have is personality swap. So personality swap, we've gone in and we've created code for some of the blocks. And so you can actually go in there with a couple clicks, change the personality of your block. So one of the examples is that the drive cube typically only goes in one direction. With personality swap, I think we have 4 different personalities for drive cube. So now we can go in and our drive can go forward, it can go backwards, it can do this crazy back and forth. But the key component of personality swap is really teaching students that software changes the way that hardware behaves. So we have this hardware, it's come to you predefined. This is the way that it's always gonna act. You can put it in different combinations and get different outcomes, but by using software, we can now go in here and completely change the way that this little block acts. So this is good to show some examples of what that might look like, because the next step is Blockly coding. So we have Blockly, which is a drop and drag based coding that actually enables you to go in, create your own code, and change the way that the blocks work. We do say 4th grade and up for that, not because of the Blockly. I know younger students are using that. It's because of the way Cubelets work. You have to have a pretty solid understanding of how they work as a system and how they interact in order to think about what code you might want to write and how you might want the blocks to behave. And then for our very advanced users, we do have C code. So you can actually go in there and see C code as well. So the resources available to you. Without you, we're just smart plastic. I love this because a lot of times I do see Cubelets just being used in the classroom sort of as, here's the Cubelets, go play with them. And kids will, and they will play for hours and they will love them and they will be very engaged. But we're missing an opportunity to teach all sorts of different things like computer science and computational thinking. So we have created a variety of different lesson plans to help enable you to do that. I'm going to skip over here to the hub. This is where you will find all of our resources. And as we scroll down here, we start with the Cubelets lesson plans. So our Meet Your Cubelets units, they start at pre-K and they go all the way up through 12th grade. These are an introduction to Cubelets and how they work. And then from there, we also have our computer science unit. So this one again starts to dive into how Cubelets actually work as a system. So we're doing data flow charts, we're investigating variables and block values. So if your end goal is to teach coding with Cubelets, these computer science lesson plans can be really helpful for that. We also have our connections, our grab bag section. So like I was saying, math, science, ELA, these are all in here. There's different activities that you can utilize Cubelets for to teach those things. And then we have our activity cards. So these are available. You can either purchase them through Maker Maven or you can print them out here for free. But there's over 21 activities, and these are great if you're using Cubelets in your makerspace or if you're using them individually just to have kids work in groups together. These are activities that they can kind of work through on their own. And then last summer, we introduced our Camp Hub, not to say that these can't be used in the classroom, because I think they would be excellent for that. But we do have quite a few organizations using Cubelets for after-school programming, robotics clubs, and camps. And the request was always for them to be a little bit more fun, because you want those types of activities to have a little bit more engagement, be a little bit more fun. So we created these, and one of the things that I love on here are their activities like coloring pages and word puzzles. And so that lighthouse activity that we just did, you can actually go in here and see we have created a little lighthouse nest. So your students can actually cut this out and color it and design their little lighthouse. And so when they build that same lighthouse that I did, it now looks more like a traditional lighthouse. So there's a bunch of different fun activities in there to go through. It's actually a 1-week camp was the intended use for it. We also have our implementation resources. So teacher implementation guide here. Our Create with Cubelets video tutorials. So if you do have students that want to do Blockly and want to do coding, they can actually work through these little video tutorials on their own to learn how to use Blockly and to code with Cubelets. Printable materials, training and development. So this is really great. We have the Getting Started guide that will walk you through how each block works, what it does, how they connect to each other. But we also have these free online workshops, and there's 2 of them. And if you complete them, you do get a certificate of completion. The 101 teaches you the basics of how Cubelets work, and then the 102 starts to talk about more of the more complex things like our knob cubes and minimum and maximum and how that data value is being shared. But they only take about a half an hour to 45 minutes. So know that if you do end up, using Cubelets, these resources are here for you to learn how to use them a little bit better. But I always find that working with the students is probably the way that I've learned the most about Cubelets, because most of the time having kids build robots that A, I've never seen, or B, I just have no idea how it works. So, that question of, teacher, how does this work? I'm like, oh, geez, okay, here we go. Let's break it down and investigate it. And honestly, that's a great way to learn about Cubelets and how they work as well. Last thing I'll touch on here is our Cubelets chat email. This is here for you. This is not junk mail, spam mail, marketing mail. This is our educator who actually designed all of the lesson plans and activities, sending out monthly tips on how to use Cubelets in the classroom in a different way, or, it's the start of school, getting back with Cubelets, those type of things. The other thing to note about all of the lesson plans is they're all going to follow the same framework. So when they were designed, our educator really wanted them to be able to be used if you had, for say, example, a teacher that was a substitute teacher coming into the day, never seen Cubelets, never used them, but wanted to do a Cubelets activity. We've really designed the lesson plans with the idea that that should be feasible. If you know nothing about Cubelets, you can still come in and pick up a lesson plan and get started. So they all follow the inquiry framework. At the beginning of class, we're going to cultivate wonder. Today we're learning about lighthouses. What is a lighthouse? How does it work? And then we're going to all break off into groups and we're going to work together to build lighthouses and explore with Cubelets. And at the end of class, we're going to come back and we're going to co-construct meaning. What do you know about lighthouses that you didn't know before? Or how does that sensor work that maybe you didn't know how it worked at the start of class? Those type of things. So as we're thinking about the lesson plans and activities, if anybody has a subject or unit that you think might be good fit for Cubelets in your classroom, would love if you want to go ahead and share that. And then I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but I think it is helpful just to understand how we've divided the kits and how you can purchase the kits. And Maker Maven can definitely help you out with this and trying to determine what might be the best fit for your classroom. But a large overview of how they work is that the Mini Makers kit has 6 robot groups. So when we talk about each kit, think about robot groups, which a robot group is probably anywhere from 2 to 3 students collaborating and working together. So these have anywhere from 4 to 6, depending on the kits. But our mini makers, if you look at it, we've taken out a lot of the think cubes because, as I mentioned, those are more appropriate for older students. So this kit's great for preschool, kindergarten, but it's also a really good fit if you're doing a maker space or a shared space, a space where you know the students aren't going to have quite as much direction as in the classroom, because sometimes those think cubes can just be confusing when you're building and you don't necessarily understand what's happening. But the other kits, this one's 4 robot groups and our largest kit is 12 robot groups. And then we also have the smaller kits, which are individual robot groups. And I typically recommend, if you have a small budget, if you can get the 249 to get started, that's a great place because you're going to get inverse and you're going to get rotate, and it's just a better kit if you're just starting out. And the Brilliant Builders is definitely ideal as well because that one has all the cubes, and if you add on another battery, then you get 2 robot groups, so you can have anywhere from 8 to 10 students working with that one. And then this is what we are giving away along with the Brilliant Builders is our lesson plan bundles. So as I mentioned, all the lesson plans and activities are free on the website. So they are available to you, but we have designed these printed materials for those teachers that don't have the time to go to the website and sort through everything, or if you know that the kit is going to be shared throughout the district and it's going to go from classroom to classroom, these books can be very valuable because then those resources are always with the Cubelets. The other thing is the books do have lesson plans that aren't available on the website, and they're really created with start to finish. So you open, it tells you how to use Cubelets, it tells you how the inquiry framework works, and then here's your activities. So they're definitely time savings and everything is in one place. They also come with flashlights and magnets and posters and a few other fun getting started things. And one other thing that I do want to point out, if you're on our website, up here at the top, you will see free review kits. So we do 30-day trials of Cubelets. We send out a curiosity set and you can evaluate that for the 30 days. There's no charge. And when you go on here, there's just a little form that fills out. It will ask you if you are working with a reseller or how you heard about the review kit. Definitely include that you're working with Maker Maven so that way we can share communication with them, that you are testing out the Cubelets as well as if you're ready to purchase at the end, they can help you out with that. But this is a great way to get to learn and explore with Cubelets. And so we send you a UPS label at the end of the 30 days. You just send the kit back to us. So no strings attached. Definitely good around the holidays, especially if you're planning on being home with the little ones. It might be a great opportunity to really test out Cubelets and see how they might work for you and in your environment. So last question I'll leave you with is, where in your learning environment do you envision Cubelets fitting? And from there, I think we'll open it up to questions, but I will let the team over at Maker Maven take over from here.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jen. Awesome. So we had a lot of stuff coming in the chat. We were able to answer some of it as we went along, but a few things that I just took note of that came across here pretty recently. So we see Jacqueline is asking, what about her STEM labs? So what type of pack would you recommend for a STEM lab type of setting?
Yeah, I guess it all depends on how many students you foresee coming through the STEM lab and what your budget is. I typically, if you're able to purchase a bigger pack, the Creative Constructors Plus is always good because that one has 6 robot groups, which is typically enough to accommodate about 24 students. So that's typically a really good getting started place. And then, of course, all of the activities and lesson plans on the website are definitely appropriate for a STEM lab.
Perfect. All right, and we had a few questions that we did answer in the Q&A, but I'd like to kind of readdress them now that we have everybody's ear here. So Jody did ask about going back to rewatch this session here. And I believe Bree did put it in the chat already. So tomorrow you're going to be emailed your certificate of completion to turn in for your PD credit, and also the link for the recording of this webinar. And then also past that, all of the webinars are also hosted on our website and our YouTube channel. So you can always go back and check out this specific webinar or some of the other ones we've done in the past as well. And then also we have, let's see, Carol was asking about purchasing individual cubelets. I did answer in the chat. I'm not sure if all of them are available. Jen, I'll let you.
Yes, we do sell all of the Cubelets individual, and that kind of brings up a good point too, which I didn't mention, is the warranty on Cubelets. So they do come with a 1-year warranty. So we'll cover anything within the first year. I've had students use Cubelets as roller skates or throw them in fish tanks, and we have replaced them within the first year. I don't recommend that, but we will. But the good thing is, beyond the first year, there's not a lot of things that need to be replaced. But if something does break, you're thinking, you know, it's probably anywhere from $24 to $32 at the most to replace a cube. So the overall expense of replacements is fairly low. But we do also sell all the individual cubes, because I know a lot of times what you'll find once you get a kit is that you never have enough drives, that kids always want more drives. Or a lot of our kits we don't ship with the speaker cube because it is fun, but teachers most often think it is the most annoying cube in the entire world. So we do sell those individually. And then we also have packs on the batteries and the Bluetooth.
Yeah, very good. And if you reach out to us at Maker Maven as well, we're able to source those individual cubes for you. If you have any of those, if you're just looking to add on a few cubes, or if you're past your warranty point, you can let us know and we can help you source those. And so we have Kim McConnelly is asking, what grade are the activity cards geared for?
Yeah, so the activity cards are probably best for 3rd grade and up. We've been talking about designing some for the younger learners, but because of the language in most of them, I would say 3rd grade and up. But you will see on all of the cards, there are challenge levels. So if you have 3rd grade and 6th grade, you can kind of break those cards up to match whichever grade levels that you're using them with.
Okay, very good. And we have Tim here asking, says he may have missed it, but how long will a charge last on the components that require charging?
Sure. So the only component that requires charging is the battery, and you should be able to get through a whole school day. So I've used them on a conference floor for 6 to 8 hours of constant use without recharging them. So if you're thinking throughout the day using them an hour, half an hour at a time, they'll easily make it through the day. All of our larger kits ship with USB charging stations as well, but they're just micro USB. So they charge within an hour if you do need to charge them.
And I think that's all the questions that I saw. If anybody has any questions that I missed, go ahead and throw them in the chat again, just because there's so much going on. It's kind of hard to keep up with everybody typing. So thank you everybody for being so engaged. I saw Carol has a good idea. She works at a public library and would like to check them out to families. And that's actually a program that we've helped a lot of librarians with, public and also school librarians. We'd like to call them taker spaces. So it's a good way to barcode your maker STEM items, you know, and then they could be checked out just like your books. So if you have any questions about how to do that, we have some experience in helping our librarians with that. We're able to help as well. All right. I don't see any other questions coming in right now, but that doesn't mean they won't. So please keep the chat rolling. If you have any other questions, let me know. Let's see here. Okay, I don't have anything else coming in. So again, thank you so much, Jen. It was great to hear, you know, everything going on with Cubelets. The new console is awesome. That is a great addition, especially for our students to be using if they can be sent home with Cubelets and they can be used on a browser or Apple or Android device. So that makes things so much easier. We can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your day and joining us. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, thanks everyone.
All righty, so everybody, please make sure you follow Mod Robotics on Twitter if you haven't already. And I believe we do have a winner. And Bree, would you mind letting us know? I lost it in the chat, so.
Yeah, Jacqueline Dickerson is our winner.
Oh, perfect. Well, congratulations, Jacqueline. So you are going to be getting the Cubelets Brilliant Builders Pack as well as the lesson plan bundle. And as you, I don't know if you saw on the slide that Jen shared earlier, the bundles will come in pre-K to K, 1 to 3, 4 to 6, or 7 to 12. I'm gonna go ahead and pop my email address here in the chat. So just shoot me your shipping information and which of those bundles you would like, and we'll make sure to get these out to you as soon as possible. So again, congratulations, Jacqueline. Oops, and I just sent that directly to Bree. She already knows how to contact me. So here we go, Jack. All right, well, perfect. Thanks again so much for everybody that's joined us today. Jen, again, can't thank her enough for joining us. So 3 quick things that I want to touch on. I always have our last minute takeaways here. An understanding of how Cubelets work. So it's a great way for our students to learn coding tactily. So that tactile coding, especially for our younger learners, is an awesome way to teach those high-level coding concepts. And then what educators can teach with Cubelets can be scaled for our very youngest students or even our most advanced students, you know, at a high school level that are already coding and programming in that C language. And an overview of all of the content and resources available for free on Cubelets website is fantastic. And I know Bree shared that link in the chat earlier. If you want to scroll back up through the chat, or Bree, if you'd like to pop that link for the content one more time, definitely great to check out those resources if you already have Cubelets, or if you're looking to source some Cubelets from us at Maker Maven, we would love to be able to help you with that. With that being said, if you're looking to add to your space, if you already have a space going or just looking to get started, we would love to be able to help you out in as many ways as possible. You can always contact us via our website at makermaven.net. You can email us at orders@makermaven.net if you have some great things in mind and you want to quote, and we can help you from there. Or you can give us a call Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time at 877-MAKER75. And then also, if you have your device on you right now, your phone, your tablet, or anything, there's a little QR code there at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. You can scan that code, and it'll take you to our digital catalog. So there's no big, bulky paper catalogs that are going to be out of date by the time you get them. So you can just bookmark those on your phone, and you can always be up to date with what we are currently carrying. We also have added a cool new feature to our shop page on our website. So now you are able to build your own cart and send it direct to us to request a quote. So if you want to kind of surf through our website, go to makermaven.net, click on that shop tab, and then you can just build your cart. And when it comes time to check out, there's going to be a little button that says request a quote. So if you click on that, we get notified and we can send you that quote right away. And remember, if you're working with any Maker Maven representatives, depending on where you're at, make sure you type in your rep's name so we can make sure we can get everybody credited with all of the correct information. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us. We've got one webinar left scheduled for the remainder of 2020. So I know it's a short time span between the Thanksgiving break and then the Christmas holiday break coming up here soon. So our next one will be this coming Thursday with Ozobot. So it's going to be a great way to learn about some more of those robotics that you can code and teach your students about tactile coding, coding with color code. It's fantastic. They're going to show us a lot of really great things and how to pair that with different devices as well. So make sure you check out that upcoming webinar. Also, if you haven't done so already, I know I keep saying Twitter and Facebook, but you really could get a lot of great information that we put out all the time. Bree's always hard at work getting out great content for us on Twitter and Facebook. And I believe we have some more fun social media things in the works as well that Bree's going to be showing here soon. So keep an eye out. We'll announce those on our Twitter and Facebooks as well. And again, our YouTube channel. So it's a brand new YouTube channel right now. We just have the recordings of all of these webinars on there. Feel free to go on there and take a look and see what you may have missed, or maybe if you did see some of these sessions already and you want to go back through. We're going to have those up typically the next morning or the next day from the live session. So be sure to check those out. And that being said, that's all I have for you today. If there's any other questions or comments in the chat, I'm going to hang out here for the next few minutes before we close it out for today. So be sure to let me know what you got going on. If you're working with Cubelets already, or if you've just seen them at trade shows, let me know what your experience is so far.